I was 21 when my mother sent me a text that ended with, "You're no longer part of this family." The worst part? I'd seen it coming for years and ignored every single sign. Welcome to the last lesson. I'm Sophia, and if you're new here, subscribe for real stories about betrayal, survival, and the strength we never knew we had. Let's begin. I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I wasn't always this calm. I wasn't always this clear. There was a version of me, not even that long ago, who would have done anything for my family's approval, who would have set herself on fire just to keep them warm. That version of me is gone now. But let me take you back to where it all started. Back when I still believed that love and sacrifice were the same thing. I grew up in what looked like a normal family. From the outside, we were fine, maybe even happy. My parents, my older brother Marcus, and me. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. Dad worked in construction. Mom managed a small boutique. We had birthday parties, family dinners, the whole picture. But if you looked a little closer, and I mean really looked, you'd see the cracks. I was 8 years old the first time I realized I was different from Marcus. It was his 16th birthday, and my parents threw him this huge party. There were balloons, a DJ, probably 50 people in our backyard. I remember standing by the snack table in my little purple dress, watching everyone celebrate him like he was some kind of prince. 2 months later, my birthday came. I woke up excited, expecting something, anything, even just a cake. My mom gave me a card with $20 in it at breakfast and told me we'd do something special next weekend. We never did. I told myself it was okay. Marcus was older. He was the first child. He deserved more attention. That became my mantra for years. Asterisk, it's okay. They love me. I'm just different, asterisk. But different how? I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who never asked for much because I learned early that asking meant disappointment. So I stopped asking. I started giving instead. When I turned 13, I started babysitting for neighbors to earn my own money. Not because my parents couldn't afford things, but because I got tired of hearing "we'll see" every time I wanted something. A new pair of jeans, a school trip, a book I'd been eyeing at the store. Marcus never had to ask twice. I watched him get a car at 17. I watched my parents co-sign his first apartment at 20. I watched them celebrate every single one of his accomplishments like he'd cured a disease. And when I got a full scholarship to college at 18, my mom said, "That's nice, honey," and went back to scrolling on her phone. I wish I could tell you I was angry back then, but I wasn't. I was just used to it. College became my escape. I moved 2 hours away and buried myself in my studies. Marketing major. Dean's List every semester. I thought if I just worked hard enough, succeeded enough, maybe they'd finally see me the way they saw Marcus. But here's the thing about being the forgotten child. You learn to prove your worth in other ways. So when Mom called me during my sophomore year and mentioned that money was tight, I didn't hesitate. I picked up a second job waitressing on weekends. I sent home $300 a month. It wasn't much, but it was something. It was me saying I'm here. I'm helping. I matter. She thanked me once, maybe twice. When I was 19, Marcus got engaged. And of course, my parents were over the moon. The wedding was going to be expensive, venue, catering, flowers, the works. Mom called me one evening, her voice tight with stress. "Sophia, honey, we're a little short on the wedding budget. Marcus and Jessica really want this special day, and we're stretched thin. Do you think you could help out? Just a little." I had $4,200 in my savings account. Money I'd been putting away since I was 13. Money I was planning to use for a trip abroad after graduation. Maybe even a new laptop. I sent them $3,000. "You're such a blessing," Mom said. "We'll pay you back, I promise." They never did. The wedding was beautiful. I sat at a table in the back with some distant cousins I barely knew. Marcus didn't mention me in his speech. Not even a thank you. I told myself it didn't matter, that I wasn't doing it for recognition. But deep down, it hurt. It hurt so much I cried in the bathroom between the ceremony and reception, fixed my makeup, and went back out smiling. That's what I did. I smiled. I stayed quiet. I kept giving. Then came last year. the summer I turned 21. I just finished my junior year and landed an internship that actually paid decently. I was starting to feel stable, like maybe I was building something real for myself. That's when Mom called with the big idea. "Your father and I have been talking," she said, her voice bright and excited. "We want to invest in a property, a small rental house, something that could generate passive income for the family. For all of us, Sophia. This could really help secure everyone's future." I should have asked questions. I should have asked so many questions. But she said family. She said all of us. She made it sound like I was finally being included in something important. "We just need a little help with the down payment," she continued. "We've got most of it, but we're about 18,000 short. I know it's a lot, honey, but this is an investment. You'd be part owner too. We'd all benefit." $18,000. I had 19,000 in my account. Everything I'd saved. Every late shift, every double. Every time I chose studying over going out with friends because I couldn't afford both. I stared at my phone, my chest tight. "Can I think about it?" I asked. "Of course," Mom said. But then her voice shifted, softer, almost wounded. "I just thought you want to help your family. But I understand if you can't." That tone, that guilt, I'd heard it my whole life. 2 days later, I transferred the money. "Thank you, baby," Mom said when I told her. "You're such a good daughter. We'll pay you back as soon as the rental income starts coming in." I believed her. God, I believed her. For the next few months, I checked in occasionally, asked how the property was going. Mom's answers were always vague. "It's coming along. Still working on some repairs. These things take time, you know." I didn't push. I trusted her. And then, the texts started getting shorter. The calls less frequent. By October, I hadn't heard from anyone in my family for 3 weeks. That's when I opened Instagram and saw the photos. My parents, Marcus, his wife, all of them on a beach vacation in Mexico. Smiling, tanned, relaxed. The caption read, "Family time is the best time." I stared at that photo for a long time, and something inside me started to crack. They say you never forget the moment your world falls apart. Mine happened at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, with my phone glowing in the dark and my mother's words burning into my retinas. The Mexico photos stayed with me. I know that sounds dramatic, but I need you to understand I couldn't stop looking at them. I'd be sitting in class, and my mind would drift back to that image. My whole family on a beach I'd never see, wearing smiles I'd helped pay for, living a life I wasn't invited to. I told myself there was an explanation. Maybe it was last minute. Maybe they assumed I was too busy with school. Maybe they tried to tell me and I missed the message somehow. I made excuses for them the way I always had. But there was this feeling in my chest, this tight, uncomfortable knot that wouldn't go away. It grew heavier every day I didn't hear from them. Every text I sent went unanswered. Every call that rang out to voicemail. By November, I hadn't spoken to anyone in my family for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And here's what broke me. They weren't even pretending to care. "No, how's school?" "No, how are you doing?" Nothing. It was like I'd simply ceased to exist. So I did something I'd never done before. I asked for what I needed. I texted my mom on a Sunday afternoon. Casual. Non-confrontational. Asterisk, "Hey mom. Hope you guys had fun in Mexico. Quick question. Do you have an update on the rental property? Just want to know when I can expect some of my investment back. School expenses are adding up." Asterisk. I waited 3 hours before she responded. "We're still working on it. These things take time. Don't stress about it." That was it. No warmth. No reassurance. Just dismissal. Something in me shifted. I opened my banking app and started looking at my transactions. Every dollar I'd sent home over the years. 300 here. 500 there. The big one, 18,000. I added it up. 23,000 for $100. Over 3 years, I'd given my family $23,000. And I was living on ramen and doing homework by the light of my phone to save on electricity. I felt sick. The next day, I drove home unannounced. 2 hours in my beat-up Honda, practicing what I was going to say. I wasn't angry, not yet. I just wanted to talk. To understand. To fix whatever was broken between us. I pulled up to my parents' house just after lunch, and that's when I saw it. The kitchen, the one visible through the big front window. It was completely renovated. New cabinets, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. The kind of kitchen you see in home improvement shows. The kind that costs $30, maybe $40,000. I sat in my car, staring. They told me money was tight. They'd asked me for $18,000 for an investment property. And now they had a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a magazine. My hands were shaking when I knocked on the door. Mom opened it, and for just a second, just one brief flash, I saw something in her face. Guilt, maybe. Or panic. But it disappeared so fast I almost thought I imagined it. "Sophia," she said, her voice bright and surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I was in the area," I lied. "Thought I'd stop by." She didn't invite me in right away. She stood in the doorway like a barrier. "Oh, well, we're actually about to head out. Your father has a thing." "A thing?" "Right. The kitchen looks amazing," I said, keeping my voice steady. "When did you do that?" "Oh, a few months ago. We got a great deal from your dad's contractor friend." She waved her hand dismissively. "You know how it is." "No, I didn't know how it was." "Mom, can we talk about the rental property? I really need to know what's happening with my money." Her face changed, hardened. "Your money," she repeated, her tone sharp. "Sophia, that was a family investment. You can't just demand it back whenever you want. That's not how investments work." I felt like I'd been slapped. "You said I'd get returns. You said we'd all benefit. And we will. Eventually. You just need to be patient. It's been 6 months. Well, real estate takes time." She crossed her arms. "Honestly, Sophia, I'm a little disappointed. We thought you understood what family meant. That you were doing this out of love, not expectation. Out of love." I gave them everything out of love, and she was throwing it back in my face like I was being greedy. "Where is the property?" I asked quietly. "What?" "The rental property. Where is it? What's the address?" Mom's jaw tightened. "I don't have that information on me right now. Can you get it?" "Sophia, I don't appreciate this interrogation. If you're going to come here with accusations..." "I'm not accusing anyone. I'm asking a simple question." We stared at each other, and in that moment, I saw something I'd never seen before. My mother looked at me like I was a problem, an inconvenience, a burden. "I think you should go," she said finally. I left without another word. But I wasn't done. That night, I did what I should have done months ago. I searched public property records online, looked up anything under my parents' names, any recent purchases in the county. Nothing. No rental property. No investment. Nothing. They'd lied to me. Or worse, they'd used my money for themselves and never planned to tell me. I sat on my apartment floor, laptop open, my entire body numb. I'd been so stupid. So unbelievably, pathetically stupid. But the numbness didn't last. It turned into something else. Something cold and clear and razor sharp. I started taking screenshots. Every text where they asked me for money. Every Venmo transaction. Every promise to pay me back or we'll all benefit. I documented everything. And then I waited. I didn't text. Didn't call. If they wanted to erase me, fine. I'd let them. 3 weeks passed. Thanksgiving came. I spent it alone in my apartment with Chinese takeout and a paper due Monday. I kept checking my phone, some pathetic part of me hoping for an invitation. A text. Something. Nothing came. I saw the photos later on Facebook. The whole family around the table. Marcus and his wife. My parents. Even my aunt and uncle. The caption, "Grateful for family." I wasn't in a single photo. It was like I'd never existed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my phone on my chest. And that's when it happened. 11:47 p.m. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. My heart jumped. Stupid, hopeful thing that it was. Maybe she was reaching out. Maybe she realized what she'd done. Maybe. I opened the message. Asterisk Sophia. Your father and I have been talking with Marcus and Jessica. We've all agreed that it's best if you're no longer considered part of this family. You've caused too much drama and stress with your constant demands about money. Family isn't supposed to be transactional. We think it's best if you don't come to any future gatherings. We need peace, and you clearly need to figure out your priorities. We wish you well. Asterisk. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. My mother, the woman who gave birth to me, who I'd spent 21 years trying to please, had just disowned me by a text at midnight, and she'd blame me for it. I want to tell you I cried, that I broke down and sobbed. But I didn't. I sat up in bed, my hands perfectly steady, and I felt something inside me go completely, utterly silent. The hurt was still there, the betrayal, the grief, but underneath it all was something new. Clarity. They'd taken my money, my time, my love, and when I dared to ask for even a fraction of it back, they'd thrown me away like I was nothing. I looked at that text one more time. Then I opened my notes app and started writing down every single thing I remembered. Every dollar, every promise, every lie. If they wanted to pretend I didn't exist, fine, but they were going to pay for the privilege. They thought disowning me was the end of the story, that I'd just disappear quietly, the way I always had. They forgot one crucial thing. Silence doesn't mean weakness, and I was done being silent. My family erased me after taking $23,000. My mother sent a midnight text ending our relationship. But instead of breaking me, something inside me finally woke up, and I started fighting back. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bedroom floor with my laptop, a notebook, and every shred of documentation I could find. Bank statements, text messages, emails, Venmo receipts. I organized everything into a folder labeled simply evidence, because that's what it was. Evidence of theft, of manipulation, of a family that had systematically used me and then blamed me for noticing. The old Sophia would have internalized that text. I would have believed she really was too demanding, too transactional, too much. Would have apologized for existing. But that version of me died at 11:47 p.m. the night before. By sunrise, I had a timeline. 3 years of financial transactions. Every time they'd asked for money. Every promise they'd made. Every excuse they'd given for not paying me back. The rental property that never existed. I had the text where Mom described it, where she promised I'd be part owner, where she said we'd all benefit. That was fraud. Maybe not in the criminal sense, but definitely in the legal one. I made coffee as the sun came up, my hands steady for the first time in months. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is hot and reactive and clouded. I felt cold, calculated, clear. I had given them every opportunity to do the right thing. To be honest, to treat me like a daughter instead of an ATM. They'd chosen differently. Now it was my turn to choose. Monday morning, I walked into a law office 3 blocks from campus. It was a small practice, the kind that offered free consultations for students. A woman named Patricia Hayes met with me, mid-50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I laid everything out on her desk. She was quiet for a long time, reading through the messages, looking at the transaction history. When she finally looked up, her expression was grim. "Do you have anything in writing about the rental property investment?" she asked. I showed her the text, Mom's promises, the description of the property, the assurance that I'd be paid back as soon as rental income started coming in. Patricia nodded slowly. "And you verified that no such property exists in their name?" I checked public records. Nothing. And they've refused to return any of the money. They told me I was being transactional. That family isn't about money. My voice cracked slightly on that last part. Patricia's jaw tightened. Family also isn't about theft. She explained my options. Small claims court had a limit, usually around $10,000, depending on the state. But I could file for the $18,000, plus interest, plus court costs. The other money, the monthly payments over the years, would be harder to reclaim unless I had written agreements. But the big one, the investment they lied about, that I could fight. "I'm not going to lie to you, Sophia," Patricia said. "Family court cases are messy, emotionally devastating. They'll say terrible things about you. They'll play victim. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about that text, about being erased from family photos, about spending Thanksgiving alone while they celebrated without me. Yes, I said. I'm ready. I filed the lawsuit the following week. The process was surprisingly simple. Fill out forms, pay filing fees I could barely afford, submit evidence, wait for a court date. The hard part was what came after. The sheriff delivered the papers to my parents' house on a Thursday afternoon. I know because Marcus called me 20 minutes later. It was the first time I'd heard from anyone in my family in over a month. What the hell is wrong with you? He screamed into the phone. I put him on speaker and kept folding laundry. Hi, Marcus. You're suing mom and dad? Are you insane? Over money. Over $18,000 they took under false pretenses. Yeah. It wasn't false pretenses. It was an investment. You can't just. Where's the property, Marcus? Silence. What? The rental property. The one I invested in. Where is it? More silence. That's what I thought, I said quietly. They lied to me. They took my money and spent it on themselves. A new kitchen. A vacation. Your wedding. And when I asked for it back, they disowned me. You're being dramatic. I have the text, Marcus. The one where Mom told me I'm no longer part of the family. Want me to read it to you? She was upset. You kept pressuring her about money, like some kind of... Like what? Say it. He didn't. Drop the lawsuit, he said finally. You're tearing this family apart. I almost laughed. I'm not the one who tore it apart. I'm just the one who stopped pretending it was whole. He hung up. 3 days later, my mom called from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Sophia. Her voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk about this lawsuit. I'm listening. You're embarrassing us. Do you know how this looks? Our daughter suing us? People are asking questions. Your aunt called me in tears. You should have thought about that before you stole from me. We didn't steal. Then where's my money, Mom? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Softer. The tone she used to use when I was little and she wanted me to do something. Honey, you know we love you. You're our daughter. We can work this out without lawyers and courts. That's not what family does. Family also doesn't disown their daughter via text at midnight. I was upset. I said things I didn't mean. Did you mean it when you took my money? When you lied about the rental property? When you spent my savings on a vacation I wasn't invited to? That's not fair. None of this is fair, Mom. But I'm done pretending it is. She switched tactics then. The softness vanished. If you go through with this, you'll never be welcome in this family again. Ever. You understand that? You already told me I wasn't welcome. Remember? Don't come to any gatherings. That was you. I mean it, Sophia. You do this, and we're done. Permanently. I took a breath. This was it. The moment I had to choose between the family I'd spent 21 years trying to earn and the life I deserved. Then we're done, I said. And I hung up. The court date was set for January. The weeks leading up to it were the hardest of my life. Not because I was scared, I had evidence, documentation, everything I needed, but because the weight of what I was doing finally hit me. I was taking my parents to court. I was choosing legal action over family bonds. I was burning every bridge I'd ever known. Some nights, I'd lie awake wondering if I was making a mistake, if maybe I should just let it go, chalk it up to a painful lesson and move on. But then I'd remember that text, that midnight message that reduced me to nothing, that told me I was the problem for wanting what was mine. And I'd know I was doing the right thing. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Chun, and she was the first person who told me something I desperately needed to hear. You're not breaking up your family, Sophia. They broke it. You're just refusing to keep pretending it's whole. I cried in her office that day. Really cried. For the first time since all of this started. Because she was right. I wasn't the villain in this story. I was just the only one brave enough to tell the truth. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone again. But this time it felt different. Quieter. Sadder maybe. But also cleaner. Like I wasn't carrying something heavy anymore. I posted a photo on Instagram that day. Just me in my tiny apartment with a small fake tree I bought at Target and a mug of hot chocolate. The caption, asterisk, first Christmas building the life I deserve. Merry Christmas to everyone who chose peace over toxicity this year. Asterisk. My phone exploded with messages from people I hadn't talked to in years, friends from high school, distant cousins, people who said they'd experienced something similar, who understood. One message stood out. It was from my dad's sister, my Aunt Caroline. We'd never been close. Asterisk, I don't know what happened between you and your parents, but I want you to know your mom did the same thing to me 20 years ago. Borrowed money, never paid it back, cut me off when I asked about it. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Call me if you need anything. Asterisk. I stared at that message for a long time. I wasn't the first person they'd done this to. I was just the first one who'd fought back. The court date was in 2 weeks, and I was ready. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt invisible, used, or erased by the people who were supposed to love you, please subscribe to The Last Lesson. Hit that notification bell. You're not alone in this. And trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Thank you for listening.